to bounce back. How do you answer a 3-run deficit? How about throw 5 up on the board?
Hey, this is John Sadak, TV voice of the Cincinnati Reds, and you're up for Late Night Reds Talk.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Late Night Reds Talk Live. Tim got the night off tonight, and I think he picked a really, really good one to go to the New Kids on the Block concert or whatever he's doing tonight. That was a tough one, fellas. Let's just go ahead around the room and introduce the crew. We have got Mr. Carlos Guevaro, our resident superstar. Carlos, how you feeling tonight?
I'm actually not even in a bad mood after that loss. It's kind of funny, but other than that, doing pretty well.
Clay, how about you? Clay Snowden, our guy now on justbaseball.com, right?
Yeah, so I just started writing for justbaseball.com, which you all can check out. They cover the entire MLB. It's a neat website. They also do trading cards, history, pretty much anything that's baseball. But this is my second time on the show, and both times have ended with a walk-off home run loss for the Reds. So really great mojo going on here.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a 3-strike rule. So if we have you on one more time and we have,
can I come on in the off season next?
We might have to. I don't know, man. Wow, jeez. All that. You know what? Let's get positive here, because God knows there's probably not a lot of it out there. I believe right after that game, though, didn't the Reds win 7 of 9?
I have no idea. I hope so.
Yeah, I went on vacation and the Reds won, and they said, Nick, you can't come back, right?
Well, there's other
made a strong push for that. That's for sure.
Want you back, Nick, but
yeah, no one wanted me back. All right, and then making his Late Night Reds Talk debut, we got Mr. Bryce Spalding. Did I say your last name right, Bryce?
Yeah, that's right.
Bryce is a former collegiate baseball superstar. Bryce, welcome to Late Night Reds Talk Live.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
How you feeling tonight, Bryce?
A little deflated, but hey, we've got another one Friday.
Yeah.
At least got tomorrow.
We all need the day off, that's for sure. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. What the hell? What the hell? Why the hell was Brad Brock in the game? I'm optimistic. I don't get that. Carlos, do you have any insight for me?
We talked about it, and we were asking the questions as we were watching it unfold. I mean, Lorenzen, it makes sense for him to possibly be down and not available. Sims doesn't make sense unless, he let them know something's hurting. I need a day, because he hadn't pitched in, what did you say, Clay, 2 days?
Yeah, Sims pitched, I believe. I can pull it up, but yeah, he was rested according, as far as we know.
David Bell better say something to that fact that, Sims wasn't available either, or else this was real bad, which I'd be surprised, that it was that.
Yeah. So Lucas Sims pitched on the 6th, the 4th, and the 1st of September. So to me, like Nick said before the show, there could be something that we don't know about, but Brad Brock in that situation, I think we all kind of knew how that game was going to end. It's just at this point disheartening to think that the Reds cannot have somebody better than Brad Brock coming in, especially against a team like the Cubs, who we know does not exactly have an MLB roster right now. Now, a lot of times those are scary teams. I know that sounds crazy, but these are guys that are still MLB players fighting for their right to be in the league. A bunch of 28 to 31-year-old waiver wire pickups, they're going to give it their all, even in a broken season. And at the end of the day, the Cubs got the best of the Reds 2 out of 3 games.
Bryce, you got any thoughts on what we just saw?
I wish that was Dario Moreta. In that situation, he probably, or I really wouldn't even pitch to Wisdom, if we're being honest. he extends the guy to third, and Brock's a decent ground ball guy. He could possibly get Hayward to roll over one on a change up away. I know he had a home run, but it's easier said than done. But I don't know. Tough situation for a guy that's just not very good.
Yeah, I don't hate Brad Brock as much on the roster as I think everyone else does. It's just it's puzzling. The Reds only used 3 relievers. Like, it's not like that was the 5th or 6th reliever they brought into a game, which is what I assumed when Brad Brock came up. I mean, he would be like the guy at the very end of the bench. I would imagine probably if David could go back, maybe he tries to have Sessa go 2 innings tonight. But yeah, I don't understand pitching to Wisdom. That was weird. You could have just walked Wisdom and brought in, Wilson, who has looked good at times, and at least, you have a really good matchup lefty with Hayward as the first batter. And at least maybe you can set up that inning a little bit better. But that's what we saw at the end of the game. It ultimately comes down to, the Reds did only score 1 run in 10 innings against the Cubs. That situation doesn't happen if the Reds are able to, scratch across a run. The Reds had a runner on second in the top of the 10th, and weren't able to get it done. So, the offense has certainly got to find some way to get going. I trust that they will. They've at times, looked really, bad and struggling at times, and then 2 games later they break out of it and kind of go on a good streak. So yeah,
they need some sort of spark for sure, because you can tell there's a big difference in this team that's out there playing every day than what there was 3 weeks ago. Like, it's a different vibe. Like, even obviously keep a closer eye on Joey, and even whenever he's coming up to bat, he's not walking up there with the same groove that he had 3 weeks ago. It's different. It's a different vibe, and I don't know, there's almost we need some sort of action to go on, maybe rile the boys up a little bit or something.
Yeah, and that spark might have to just be Jesse Winker when he comes back. I mean, they're just really, really missing that hole in the lineup, and I don't think Winker is the player that he was playing in the beginning of the year. I mean, that was still way above what I think anyone actually thought he would be. But at the end of the day, you're having some pretty just okay players filling in, and nothing against Max Schrock. He's been playing really, really well, but you want Jesse Winker in that lineup. And right now the offense it's struggling, and it's a long season. A lot of these younger players, your Indias and Stevensons, they haven't played this long of a season. And India, as we know, has been beaten up some, and I mean he's still producing. He hasn't been as hot recently, but this offense is just really struggling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of comments on YouTube. Thanks everyone for watching. Sorry that it took you this one to jump on. We see some questions. We will certainly try to get to those as we get throughout the show. We did have a lot of topics that we wanted to run through. We were hoping not to have to kind of jump in and talk about the game that just happened as much, but kind of had to talk about that. With where we're at. So let's talk real quick. We'll kind of go around the table. We'll talk kind of the overall state of the Reds and the upcoming schedule. So it looks like the Reds are going to fall to a game back in the wild card race. The Padres are whipping up on the Angels. The Angels did really help the Reds out last night. And thank God they did, or the Reds would be 2 games back. So the Reds are going to be a game back. They're going to have a big 3-game series at St. Louis. Then they're going to play in Pittsburgh. Reds have 9 games against the Pirates. They'll start that next week. 9 of their final 18 games. They do have a series with the Dodgers and White Sox mixed in. So let's go around the room. Let's start with Carlos. I mean, how do you kind of feel about where things are? Maybe try to take the brutal loss tonight out of it. How do you feel about where things are with 21 games to play, and we're assuming going to be a 1-game deficit?
I feel we're pretty much exactly where we thought we were going to be at the beginning of the year, right? Like, we're going to be in a dogfight, whether it's for the division or to sneak in, like, because nobody expected 2 teams from the Central to get in. So I think we're right where we thought we were going to be. We are who we thought we are. But no, I mean, I mean, people don't really like to hear it anymore, but the schedule is in our favor. So, I mean, what's not to be excited or optimistic about? If you choose to be, pissed off about tonight and where the Reds are standing, then I don't know, man. The Reds haven't been this competitive in a long time. So I just say just enjoy the ride.
I would say be pissed off tonight. That's fine. Be pissed off tomorrow. But come on. Come Friday, let's get back in. 21 games to play. It's going to be a one. I don't know. The Padres play tomorrow, maybe a 1.5. They don't play tomorrow. Thanks, Bryce, for being on it. Yeah, I think they play like the same schedule every day until the last like 10 days. And then the Padres have 10 games. The Reds have 8. But yeah, it was never going to be this easy. The Reds were never just going to run away with the wild card, as much as we would have.
Say like about tonight, like I'm not pissed because obviously those two top relievers weren't available tonight. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Who else are you going to run out there?
There's no way David Bell pitched Brock over Sims with the way Sims is pitching. There's no way.
You got Garrett, you got Wilson, you had Brock, and you had Amir. Like,
it's kind of flip a coin, really. I mean, if you're you're being honest, it's. I mean,
David Bell seemed pretty handcuffed tonight when it came to the bullpen, so that's why I'm not upset about it. It's just one game.
Yeah, and then before we kind of go back around, I mean, look, you can make fun of the schedule all you want, but the Reds are playing 9 games against the Pirates. It sure beats playing 9 games against the Giants. So yeah, maybe the Reds will, go 5-4 in those 9 games, and it really won't matter, and they won't get the second wild card spot. But they're going to have a chance. If the Reds had the Padres schedule the rest of the way, I'd be feeling pretty miserable right now. But they don't. They have their schedule. We'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. Clay, where are you at?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the schedule right now, and all I can think about is how crucial this series is this weekend. Not only because the Cardinals are not, there's still a possibility that they could sneak into the wild card. I don't think it will happen, but if you take care of business with the Cardinals, and then you have 3 with the Pirates, that's some serious momentum rolling into the weekend series with the Dodgers at home. And that could be a wild card preview. You need all the momentum you can get. Kershaw, he had a rehab start, I believe, last night, so he'll be working his way back. We know how they are against lefties. Urias even, like, I don't want to face the Dodgers at their best right now without that momentum. So you take care of business, roll into next weekend with the Dodgers, and I mean that's going to be must-watch baseball. Now, I mentioned it could be a wild card preview. The Giants and Dodgers have been battling it out, and it's possible that the Giants could still get that wild card spot, which the Reds played the Giants earlier this year, and I think that they lost all 4 games against the Giants. But after that Dodgers series, even if it doesn't work out in your favor, okay, you have Pittsburgh for 3, Washington for 4 right afterwards.
Forgot
again,
about Washington games.
Momentum can be built up there pretty quickly. And then 2 with the White Sox, who are currently missing their leadoff hitter, Tim Anderson, and shortstop. And then you roll in the last 3 with the Pirates. So it's still possible. I know everyone's upset about how the schedule went. It was really easy, and the Reds did not take advantage. We've all been upset, but that's in the past. You just really, I mean, all focus right now is on those 3 games with the Cardinals. Those were huge.
Yeah. Bryce, where you at?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Clay. This weekend is huge, especially seeing the same 3 arms that you just saw at the series at home. I think that's a big deal, especially seeing the 2 lefties again. I think they're going to get the lesser. And obviously Hap sucks. So I think the Reds could and should take 2 out of 3. And then, like he was kind of saying, I mean, the Pirates and the Nationals are much worse than the Cubs, the Marlins, and the Tigers. Much worse. Like, I think I sent that to you last night, Nick. Like, the Reds have more wins since the trade deadline than the Pirates and the Nationals have combined. Like, they're really, really bad. Like 20 and 50, I think, in that span. So just You keep saying it. You keep saying it. You got to stay with them. This team's not going to give in. They're going to eventually get hot again. And whether it's 10 games in and you got 12 against the Pirates in the Nationals or whatever. So I definitely not giving in. It sucks right now, but I think they're going to be fine.
Mally Lester, Castillo Michaelis, Gray Happ. I mean, you can't ask for better matchups than that this weekend. You know, the Reds got to find a way to go out and take care of business. Moving along, let's go through. We kind of do this real quick. Rank the challengers in the wild card race. So, obviously we have the Padres, the Phillies, the Cardinals, and the Mets lost again tonight. But those will be the four. Rank those four. I'll start it out. I'd go Padres first, even with their schedule. I still think they're, obviously they're ahead. They're going to be probably 3 games ahead of the Phillies if I'm doing my math right. So that's still a massive, advantage with 21 games. So I would go Padres, then Phillies, just because of how weak their schedule is. Then I'd go Mets, then Cardinals. I do not have any faith in the Cardinals. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. I don't see any. The Cardinals aren't getting the second wild card spot. Someone else might not be the Reds, but I just don't see that. So, Carlos, rank those 4 teams. The toughest challenge for the Reds.
I go with the Padres for sure, just because they've got the best lineup, the best pitching staff, which their starters are throwing a whole lot better now. Even you threw pretty well tonight. The top guns are going well, and they're going to win games. I think those Dodgers and what they have left with the Giants, they'll probably end up splitting all of them. I just think I think they'll figure it out, and then the Phillies, because Harper's apparently hitting a home run every day now for the rest of the season. So, and then the Mets and Cardinals. Yeah, I'm not paying attention to them.
Yeah, if the Reds finish behind either one of those teams, they're going to finish behind someone else. It's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
Clay.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what you all have been saying. The Padres just have a really good roster. They don't have the depth, but they have a lot of big name pitchers who haven't exactly performed. Blake Snell has been pitching really well recently, which he was terrible this whole year. If he can keep that up, Darvish was pitching well last I checked tonight, but he's been terrible. I mean, these are guys that have moments left in them to still be good. So I think the Padres are definitely number one. The Phillies, they definitely have some players who I just think their roster's better. I don't think that they have the pitching depth that it's going to take. Kyle Gibson was brought over at the deadline to be a number 2 for them, which is a joke. That just tells you about the pitching depth at the deadline this year was pretty bleak. So yeah, I also don't think the Cardinals, I mean, they're still in it technically, but I think that they're gonna, fizzle out pretty quickly.
And the Cardinals do have the 5th toughest schedule remaining in baseball. They do have 7 games against the Cubs, but I don't know if the Cubs are really, I don't know, maybe they're just the Reds kryptonite, but man, they have they still have 7 with the Brewers, 3 with the Padres, 3 with the Reds, and 3 with the Mets. So,
Nick, is it true that you're a huge Ian Happ fan?
I am not an Ian Happ fan.
Oh, okay.
No, definitely not. Bryce, you got any different views on ranking kind of those 4 competitors?
I will go a little bit different. I really feel like the Phillies are going to make a pretty good push here. I mean, they have 11 at home against Colorado, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. And, I mean, if they can win 9 of those, they're really pushing Atlanta, in Cincinnati, and San Diego as well. So with Nola, Wheeler, and even Gibson, I know he's not great, but he's a serviceable 3 there. But I feel like they're about to rattle off a couple, especially playing at home. They do play really well at home, and seeing some pretty poor pitching there. I think that offense with their name could get going a little bit. So I'll go Philly, which I think Philly could catch Atlanta. Atlanta's got a decently tough schedule. So I'll go Philly, San Diego, New York, and St. Louis.
Yeah. The Braves are 2 outs away from losing to the Nationals, the team we just we just talked about that. That's so easy for the Reds. I mean, this time of the year, I mean, really, on any given night, anyone can beat anyone. I look at more, the full 21 games the Reds have left, and I say, yeah, they're gonna probably drop a couple of those games that we're gonna be like, how could you possibly lose that? But they'll probably, win a couple games against the Dodgers and White Sox that we're not counting on. So yeah, but if that score holds, the Reds will actually only be a half game behind the Braves, which I think is important if Philly just goes on this crazy run like you talked about, Bryce. Well, there's still a fallback. The Reds, if they just finish ahead of the Braves, then the Phillies don't really matter. So,
so those 21 games left, does 14-7 get you in, you think?
I would think so. We talked about San Diego. I mean, San Diego, they're going to have 23 left, right? So, I mean, I feel like San Diego could go 13-10.
Yeah.
And that's playing really well. Like that would be, and I think that would actually be ahead of the Reds, but you know what I mean? Like they could go 12-11 and that's playing great baseball against the competition that they're playing. So that's why I think the schedule does, does matter some down the stretch just because, the Reds could play mediocre and still help play the Padres who play great, so I don't know. We'll see. It's going to change every night. We'll be back here next week, and we'll probably have a totally different formula about the remaining 14.
It's going to be an emotional roller coaster.
We've been saying that every single week all year. We've been saying ups and downs, and today was a down. So, all right, let's move right along. I got a lot of topics I want to get to. I don't want to keep you guys all night. I don't care. You'll be fine. Thoughts on the Delino DeShields pickup? This is one of the things, and Shogo's future, because we've barely seen Shogo for about 2 weeks since DeShields been picked up. Shogo's pretty much been a pinch runner, and I think he came in one of the blowouts. Are you guys upset that Delino's on the roster? Let's switch it around. We'll go Bryce. You can start this one off. What's your thoughts on Delino DeShields?
I mean, it's better than Naquin and Shogo versus lefties, right? I mean, yeah. Delino's not – he's who everybody thinks he is. He's not a great hitter. He's a good defender and runs the base as well. So, I mean, I don't hate it. It's not something that I want to see permanently. I'd like to I mean, obviously get Nick Senzel healthy or whoever it may be. But Shogo's future, I was talking about this with Brandon last night, actually. I just don't see how Shogo has a place on this team moving forward. I mean, if it's eating the $8 million or finding a suitor to take him on get him 500 at bats or something, whatever it may be. But I don't have a problem with the Shields being on the roster. I don't think Shogo has any type of future in Cincinnati.
Oh, wow.
As the proud owner of a Shogo jersey, the only owner of a Shogo jersey, I actually completely agree. I bought this before he ever played a game with the Reds, so now it's just a way for everyone to identify me, the only guy with the Shogo jersey. But Delino DeShields, to me, I don't know if I've ever actually had a thought about Delino DeShields. I actually had no idea that he was traded to the Red Sox at one point at the deadline. I mean, he's fine to have on the roster, a little bit of speed, better against the lefties, as you said, Bryce, and plus defense. But yeah, Shogo is, I mean, I'm going to write an article after this season about the big free agent class that the Reds brought in, I guess now 2 years ago. And a lot of those deals are just not looking great. I mean, Wade Miley's he's looked good this year, really, really good. Moustakas has been a disaster, really can't hardly get on the field. And Castellanos may just opt out, which I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but
I got a question on that, so you're gonna have to.
yeah. I'll hold back and wait for that.
I would counter on that though, Clay. Is 2 out of 4 hitting on 2 of 4 actually not that bad? When you're talking about free agents, especially with the kind of value that the Reds have got out of the two, especially Wade Miley. You know,
I'm just talking money wise. Like, would they be able to keep Iglesias and have a legit closer? I mean, it's stuff like that. It's more of a deeper dive into the money than the percentage of hitting. And man, like, I'll talk about Nick later. We will hold that back.
I don't know. I guess Carlos, we get Shields. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. I mean, do you think like hitting on 204 is actually okay or not? I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily, you know, I think that's, I don't know. I maybe had to do more of a deeper dive. I almost feel like that's not a terrible, you know, percentage of hitting on guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm off. Carlos, what do you think?
So it was.
Sorry.
It's Miley, Castellanos. Who were the other two?
Shogo and
Moose.
Yeah, the Moose one kind of stings, which I mean, I haven't given up on him the rest of the year. Like, I mean, I want him in there against right-handed pitchers, but I mean, the value they got from Miley is pretty exceptional. I mean, it's way over than $8 million or whatever he's getting paid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then the Shogo was kind of always an experiment. Like, they didn't know what they were getting. They thought that he was going to translate as good as some other hitters have come over, but just hadn't panned out. So, again, I mean, what does he get in a year? Like 15, 12?
7.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
around 7 or 8. And you know, and Carlos is right. A lot of players who come over, it's not a super high hit rate. It's about 50-50 probably. So it was a calculated risk, and you know, it just didn't work out. Not every signing is going to work out. So yeah, I mean, Nick, yes, you are right. 50% is pretty good. My focus will be more on how they could have used that money. Of course, hindsight's 2020, which will, you know, play in my favor, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I just kind of feel like, you know, with Miley and Moustakas, they're both kind of coin flips. And, well, you got one of them that flipped right. The Shogo signing was kind of more of a lottery. And I think at the time it was fine. I think when you then had to cut Iglesias is where it stings. You know, and I don't think the Reds would have made that move if you know, I don't think Dick Williams, I don't think he would have made that move knowing he would have to cut Iglesias the next year to save payroll. So it just, they didn't, you know, coincide well together. But
What really hurts with Shogo is that he teased us with that home run in his first spring training. That son of
a guy that never pitched in the majors since. Yeah, it stinks for Shogo. I wonder almost if there will be some sort of buyout this offseason, and that's maybe why the Reds have kept him on the roster, is because if you DFA him, you aren't going to get any sort of buyout. But the Reds are almost kind of holding that leverage. Hey, you want to, you know, go back to Japan or wherever, we're going to buy you out of your contract. You can't buy someone out of the contract if you DFA them. You're paying them the whole thing. So,
yeah.
you know, I almost wonder.
One quick comment on that. I've had some people on Twitter ask about this. MLB contracts are guaranteed contracts. They're not the same as NFL. So they're in the NFL, you see players like Shogo would have a contract restructured or something along those lines. It's totally different in the MLB. So when you sign that contract, it's more of a guarantee than in football, where it really doesn't mean anything.
I can't. I could be wrong on this. I've been wrong a lot of times. Can a team overseas buy out part of the contract though? That's what I meant. I'm sorry. I should.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to clarify. It's not a buyout like you would see in hockey, for instance. Hockey buyouts for this would be pretty much getting him off the roster and spreading his money, a little bit more money actually over multiple years against the cap. Well, there's not a cap in the MLB, obviously, so it's a little different, and the contracts are guaranteed, which is a little bit different than, like I said, in football. But yes, you can actually sell. This happened with the pitcher that was playing for the Bats, Bo. I don't know how to say his last name. He just got sold more or less to a Japanese team.
Okay, good stuff there, Clay. Thanks for your input on that. Something I'm definitely not an expert on. What's your guys' overall thoughts on Moustakas? I think coming into tonight, he actually had pretty decent numbers over, very small sample over like his last 10 games. Reds have faced a lot of lefties, so he's had a lot of nights on the bench. I know he didn't look good tonight. But what's your guys' overall thoughts? Carlos, we'll start with you. I know you just said I believe in him against right-hand pitching. What's your thoughts on Moustakas? Are you riding this out for another week, 2 weeks, rest of the season?
No, they're at this point, they're going to ride it out. It's not like they're going to bring up Barrero to start playing third base or anything right now. Like we're beyond that. I think, like, I thought maybe if not to switch, players, but like I thought if Kyle Farmer struggled like really bad here these first 2 weeks of September, that then they would give it to Barrero. But he's been okay. Hasn't done, he's been great defensively. Same thing like Moustakas. I think Moustakas has been surprisingly good at third base. He's made some really good plays over there tonight and made a really good one early on. But I mean, it sucks that he's a platoon player right now, and we're paying for that price to be a platoon player, but it is what it is. Let's roll.
It's a hell of a like 22 million between Moustakas and Suarez, and neither one of them are really hitting their end of the platoon, man. You win some, you lose some. And one quick point on Moustakas, India changed everything about Moustakas. If India doesn't exist, we probably look at the Moustakas contract a lot different, because the Reds wouldn't have, a guy filling second base that's playing honestly at an all-star level. So he does kind of change the trajectory, because when the Reds signed Moustakas, I'm not sure they really viewed India as a major league player. Am I wrong on that? I mean,
you're right. To play third base,
maybe more of a long shot to be maybe not a successful major league player is probably what I should have said. I don't know, Clay, what's your thoughts on the Moose?
Yeah, so I tweeted this earlier tonight, just about right now, third base for the Reds is kind of a mess. Suarez still has 3 more years after this at $11 million per season. And Moustakas' contract actually is structured to go $16 million next year and $18 million the year after that. Then you have a $4 million buyout if you don't want to pick up his $20 million option. So not only do the Reds have an issue with how they're playing, but they have a serious issue with money tied up at that position. Neither one of them are, what I would consider young, and they're both going to be difficult to move. So if, you see this a lot in other sports like hockey, where you move a large contract with a top prospect that typically just doesn't fit in your organization. I don't see the Reds having the prospect depth to do that. They're not the Seattle Mariners with this, elite system right now. So moving on from them will be a lot more difficult unless you just want to eat a ton of money, which is not something that I think the Reds are going to do. It's not something that they typically have done in the past. And as we know now, I know the general manager has changed, but a lot of times when these organizations sign their own players or sign a big free agency, they're not going to give up on them very quickly. It's just a tough pill to swallow. So I think that, what we're seeing is what we're going to continue to see for the rest of the year with the playing time and the production. I don't see either one of them. Now, Moose, I would guess he is I have more faith in Moose than Suarez right now. Suarez just seems like more of an automatic out. Moose has hit the ball pretty hard, the past few days. So maybe, but at the very least, he's, a vet on the team that everyone's raved about his clubhouse presence and has a World Series ring. I mean, there is value to that. It's just not $16 million value.
And Winker being out just makes all these things so much more pronounced. Moustakas isn't hitting. Oh, so what? You move him down to 6th or 7th. Winker's there. Man, a night like tonight, Alex Mills, Winker that's the kind of guys that he destroys, and yeah, I mean, a lot of the, not every problem is fixed with Jesse Winker, but damn it, a lot of them are, and it makes everything else, I think, feel a little better. Bryce, your thoughts on the Moose?
Yeah, I mean, initially when that contract was signed in 2019, 2020 offseason, I loved it. I mean, slugged 498, hit 101 home runs the 3 years prior. It's like, wow, that guy's going to rake in Great American. So it's been frustrating that he hadn't been able to play. And then obviously the shortened pandemic season last year, I think he would have put up really respectable numbers and people probably would have viewed him a little bit different going into this year. But yeah, they're not going to give up on him this year, and probably they're no, like Clay said, nobody's going to take that contract going into next year or the year after. So I think they're just going to have to make Suarez and Moose work. I don't want to move Suarez. I think Suarez is going to hit. I really think eventually he's going to figure it out. He's not a 170 hitter. I think eventually he'll get back to it, maybe 230, 330, 470 slash, something like that. And I think he's still got that in him. I really think his shoulders doing numbers on him offensively.
He's just a guy you know, I think at least you want to give him an off season, see if he can figure things out. What's it going to hurt to hold on to him? You're not going to get anything for him. You know, at best you're going to salary dump him and maybe save $1 million. Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
Not going to get much. So why not give him an off season, see what he can do? You're not just going to magically throw money and replace him and Moose, you know, like you can't do that. Well, they're not going to be able to do that. Maybe.
And I'm looking at contracts right now. That 14 to 17 million dollar contract range is so many hit and misses. You're not top, notch player to get the huge contract, and you're not enough of a role player. I mean, Andrew McCutcheon, Evan Longoria. I mean, Dexter Fowler makes $500,000 more than Moose. Lorenzo Kane, like Elvis Andrews, like that. That's just a range where there's good players in that list I didn't mention, but that's just a range where you see a lot of busts in players that. With Moose's case, it was more of a he was at that age where he wanted to cash in, and I'm sure that he had other offers from probably better teams at the time, but who would turn down that contract that they gave him? It was just a risk at the time, and there's a reason why he was only getting 1-year deals. And I was optimistic then, but with hindsight now, it's just looking like a move that's not going to pay off.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. We'll keep moving along here. I got Schrocktober. We already talked about Schrock, but I just had that in my notes, and I just wanted to say Schrocktober. So we'll skip over that.
Former Cardinal and Cub, Max Schrock.
He feels like a guy that, man, you get to the postseason, he'll just have like that. I tweeted it before. Have that Mark Lewis 1995 moment. I don't know. Am I too old for you guys?
How about if he has a moment like Christian Cologne, former Red, great Christian Cologne?
You get out of here. You get out of here with that. Get out of here with that Christian Cologne DHing over Aquino. It was garbage. It was garbage, Clay. It was garbage.
That 2020 year last year was funky for a lot of reasons. Christian Cologne, Matt Davidson, like all these kind of random guys. I was kind of hoping 2019 RJ Alanis, is that his name? Still in the Red system. He had the last hit by a pitcher. When we had the DH last year, I was hoping he would have the last ever Reds pitcher hit. But here we are again in the year 2020, still rolling out pitchers with bats. It's stupid.
And Wade Miley just hitting like Shohei.
Quick score update. The Phillies did lose. So the Phillies lost tonight. The Braves lost tonight. The Mets lost tonight. I think did the Cardinals win? I don't even pay attention to the Cardinals. I'm not worried about them. But yeah, so some good stuff, and I don't care for Padres. We're not going to talk about that. All right, let's move on. I felt a lot better writing this question, after the Reds pitched their fourth shutout inning of the night tonight, before Mr. Brock came in. But where's your guys' confidence level on the bullpen? Let's go reverse. Bryce, start with you. How do you feel about the bullpen right now?
I mean, as good as you felt all year. I mean, you have, what would you say, 5 guys you can really count on right now. I would even throw. I think Wilson can give you a solid inning here or there against maybe a couple lefties. So I would say maybe 5.5, depending on the right situation for Wilson. But Santion, Sims, Lorenzen, who am I missing? Yeah, Sessa and Givens. Those 5 guys, I mean, not many teams can run out 5 guys that they're really confident in, especially Santion tonight. He looked great. Dude, that's the best he's looked all year, in my opinion. He looked so confident out of the bullpen. I think he really, really got something there.
Yeah, Santion, man, he looked just fantastic tonight. That's just a huge weapon. Yeah, and I mean, 5 guys. I know it feels like I thought I was like, man, 5 guys, that's so many guys. That's, enough to get you through this run. And then Brad Brock pitches in the 10th inning tonight. But yeah, I agree with you, Bryce, on that. The Reds are gonna have a lot of off days too down the stretch here. So 5 guys should be able to go a long way. Our friend Marianne did point out that in the post game, David Bell did say that Sims was unavailable tonight, but he's a guy that, man, those last 5 appearances, 5 or 6,
it's pretty worrisome.
Is that
I saw that he had warmed up the last 4 days and he pitched 2 of the last 4, so that's why he said he was down.
Oh, he warmed up the last 4 days?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was not necessarily him feeling anything. It was just more that they had warmed him up. And
Right.
Oh yeah, you went 4 days in a row. Sorry.
You're done.
okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good news. That's good news. We'll take any good news we can get. Yeah, because I think Sims, man, I know Carlos was really worried about Sims coming back from the IL. But yeah, he seems like he's figured it. And the nice thing I think about Sims has been his command. I think he's only walked 1 guy in like his last 6 outings, which that was the thing. It just, he couldn't throw strikes consistently. And, when he throws strikes, he'll still, I think, occasionally miss, but his stuff is nasty and he can definitely get a lot of strikeouts, a lot of swings and misses. Clay, your thoughts on the overall on the state of the Cincinnati Reds bullpen?
I do think it's been improved since the deadline with who they brought in. I don't think it's great, but as we all know, relief pitching is fickle. You have so many great relievers who are good one year, bad the next year, good one year, bad the next year. So it is hard to predict, and it's hard to find consistency. And when you do, they get paid huge dollars, which is not something that the Reds typically do. So when they did the waiver wire thing, when they did the whole bring in all these, the Michael Fulmers, Carson Fulmers of the world, like,
doesn't matter.
A few of those have done okay and have provided some good innings for the Reds, but overall, I don't think it's as much. I personally am not as worried about the bullpen as I was before the deadline. I really like Givens and what he's brought, Sessa as well. Wilson's just another lefty who I mean, him and Garrett, I don't necessarily trust either one, but I think that there is enough pieces, as you mentioned, Nick, with the off days coming up. They won't have to pitch the Brad Brocks of the world, hopefully, anymore, unless it's mop-up duty against the Pirates, save those innings. And I know Bell will be smart about that, and he won't throw out his top guys if the Reds are, in a large lead. So those, in a way, can be off days as well. 9 against the Pirates, that's when we want to see Brad Brock, Jeff Hoffman, all of those type of people, Amir Garrett. I mean, hell, it wouldn't be ridiculous to think you could use some of those games, if they go as we hope they do, to try to get an Amir Garrett or somebody on track and get him 2 or 3 outings in a row that are good. I mean, that's me trying to be optimistic. I
love it. I love it, Clay. But
I'm trying to find the positives here, guys. Come on, let me have it.
That is deep optimism. Man, Clay,
against the Pirates. Most important part about it is getting the bullpen struggles back on track.
I respect the hell out of it, Clay. Don't know if I could go there, but I respect it. Carlos, where are you at? We were talking about the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best it's been, like Bryce said. I mean, it's the best it's been all year. The guys that you can hand the ball over to from the 7th inning on, I'm okay with it. And Santion, if he can be that coming in the 5th inning, finish the 5th and get the 6th, like, 2 games out of the 3 in the series. That's amazing. Or he could just throw, like the 7th inning if they need him, if like Sims or someone else is down. Like, he looked really, really good tonight. Like, I'd say that he looked the best if Givens didn't look as good as he did either. Like, Givens looked really well tonight. But I am kind of annoyed that they have to hide these relievers because, I mean, that guy who, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, that has thrown 20, scoreless innings in AAA. That guy
Bryce.
needs to be in the
Bryce,
bullpen.
say his name. Say his name, Bryce.
Ari Moretta.
Yeah, Moretta. He needs to be there. And it's not the same situation with Barrero and Farmer before you guys start hitting us up on YouTube, because the bullpen has been terrible all year. And there's plenty of spots for this kid to go there, and nobody in that clubhouse is going to be mad with a fresh arm in the bullpen.
Nobody. Yeah. And the Reds screwed up on Iglesias. All right. We can't go back. They screwed up. It is what it is. Okay. But since the season started, you can't just trade for relievers in May. No relievers got traded in May, other than, to the Rays. But we're not going to talk about that. But the guys the Reds brought in have all been solid. Cessa's only walked 1 batter as a Red. And, Clay's point, relievers are fickle. Craig Kimbrell has a 5.79 ERA with the White Sox. I'd take Craig Kimbrell right now, but that's what I'm saying. I don't want the Reds to go blow out their farm system to bring in a couple relievers. Get me the Luis Cessas of the world, who are fine at their absolute worst average relievers. That's fine. That's
the Yankees get rid of him. Were they that good?
They needed roster spots to get Gallo, and
Yankees fans were pissed about that trade, not because Sessa was incredible, but because he had struggled for a few years. They kept him around, and then when he was starting to figure it out this year, they kind of more or less just dump him for nothing.
How many guys have the Reds brought in that couldn't throw strikes? I mean, I maybe I'm going overboard, but like, dude's only walked 1 batter as a Red.
Yeah.
Like 16 innings, like that's incredible. The guy throws strikes. Give me that. Give me. So yeah, I feel like we're in a good spot. Hopefully the Reds can leverage these off days and kind of use this as a strength. And then you get to the playoffs, whatever, it can happen. We'll talk about that more as we get further along. But I think the Reds can use some starters and roles for that. But we're not going to talk about that tonight.
We said we're not going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get killed. I don't want to mention any playoff strategy tonight because
you don't want to give it away.
No, I will get crucified for talking about playoffs. We got 2 things I kind of wanted to get, Clay and Bryce, your guys' expert opinions as guys who follow the minor leagues a lot closer than old farts like me and Carlos. And then we'll kind of get into some questions. And we got a lot of really, really good questions tonight. We want to try to get to all of them. So me and Carlos, we're going to shut up. We promise we will give you guys your time and, do this at your own risk of memes on the internet of you. But me and Carlos, I feel like we've beat the dead horse on the case for Kyle Farmer. Make the case for Jose Barrero. You guys pick whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Clay.
So Barrero was a guy who we all saw struggle last year. He came in this year, and when I watched him at the alternate site this beginning of this year, he did not look good. His swing looked choppy. He was out in front of stuff. He was swinging and missing like crazy. And I kind of convinced myself that, oh, man, I don't know if this is the guy that people think he's going to be. Well, then he made me look like an idiot all year long in the minors. And he needed this season in the minors. And I said on other podcasts that I did not want him to be brought up at all this season, honestly. In the best case scenario, my plan was go out at the deadline and get somebody in trade, a number 15 overall prospect for someone to fill that gap. Because at the time, he only had like 300 at-bats above high A or low A. So, I mean, you've got to let him develop. Well, he just kept hitting and hitting and hitting. They brought him up. They did exactly what I did not want them to do. and they just kind of played him sporadically, sat him on the bench, didn't really give him the best opportunity to succeed. A player like him needs to play every day if you're going to bring him up. He needs every at-bat he can get during this developmental stage. So sending him down, if that means he gets at-bats every day, is fine with me. I just did not like the idea of bringing him up, expecting him to produce. And then, of course, fans are already having a short fuse on him on Twitter. Now, those aren't exactly the smartest people in the world. If your Twitter name is Joe Burrow King 69420, then I'm probably not going to take you too seriously. But I do think Barrera has more of an offensive upside than Kyle Farmer. Farmer's playing really, really top-notch defense at shortstop right now. And I'm not the biggest Kyle Farmer truth or anything, but right now, I mean, he's fine, right? If back in the day when Nick was a kid, you could play a shortstop out there that couldn't hit as long as he had a good glove, right? I think Barrera has as good of a glove as Farmer. He doesn't have the experience, and I know Carlos has touched on this about what it would do to a locker room. But I think Barrera, my whole thing is he needs everyday at-bats. If the Reds truly think that keeping him in the minors and getting him everyday at-bats will be better for him, then that's fine with me. I'm not going to challenge that. But I just don't want to see him called up and sitting on the bench. I think that's terrible.
Before we get to Bryce, I just have one kind of question for you. Obviously, at some point, Barrera, we assume, is going to get called up to replace Farmer for paternity leave, which is going to be 2 or 3
any
days.
day now. Yeah.
So that's kind of a weird caveat situation thrown in there. So let's say that happens. Let's
Here we go.
Let's.
I can't believe you said we're going to shut up, and here you are talking over.
No.
This is total BS. Just because you're the
question.
lead guy now? Let Bryce talk.
I have a question. I'm not questioning anything that he's saying. I'm asking about.
Unacceptable.
So let's say he comes up. Let's say he does average, whatever, in those 2 or 3 games. And then let's say the Reds, they're going to bring Farmer back and they're giving him the starting role. Do you think, would you send him back down?
Yes, absolutely.
I know normally it would be a different situation because the AAA season wouldn't be going on at this point. Right. At that point, but it's extended. Would you still send him back down? You wouldn't want him up helping the team? Because I mean, clearly he is one of the best 28 players. You think that, I'm just curious if you think that, if you are going to play Kyle Farmer, you would rather not have Barrio on the roster at all, helping the team being the backup.
To me, it doesn't even need to be much of a question because we've already seen it. When he was up here, he wasn't playing much. They did move Farmer to third or, use him in some utility role. It would go back to exactly what it was before, which is Farmer at short, Barrero getting pinch hit here or there. And pinch hitting is so much harder than people think it is. This is not MLB The Show.
It's the hardest thing in sports.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want him to get everyday at bats. And when Kyle Farmer comes back, if he is going to be the starter like we've seen for pretty much the bulk of the season, then yes, send Barrera down.
Okay. So Suarez starts at shortstop on the Farmer off day.
Suarez at shortstop, Moustakas at second.
Oh.
Mike Freeman at third.
I'm just going to bookmark this. I'm not going to ask questions. Bryce, go ahead and talk.
All right. Before I get started, if anybody else comes at me and tries to throw Jose Barrero's 2020 season in my face, I'm gonna mute you, and we're gonna move on. So
that's silly. Even I believe that's silly. So
those 68 plate appearances that he had in 2020, where he didn't play one season above A ball, is just throw it out.
Yeah.
And because I played Division III baseball, and that's like throwing me in the middle of the SEC and expecting me to hit. That's not happening. Okay, so Jose Barrero is a top 20 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, and that's unbelievable. The Reds haven't had somebody of this caliber in the middle of the field besides Senzel, if you even consider that he came up with third baseman. So my biggest gripe with Barrero Farmer is Barrero never truly got the chance when Farmer had the big July, and that was right when Barrero probably would have been called up. And if Barrero gets called up maybe a week before Farmer gets hot, it's probably a totally different story, and Barrero probably plays and moves on, and nobody talks about Farmer. But he had the big July. Everybody feels like he's earned that. And I'm not taking anything away from what Farmer's done. He solidified the shortstop position like Nick has talked about over and over, and I respect him for that. But let me see. The last 132 plate appearances for Farmer, he has a 61 weighted runs created plus, a 258 OBP, and a 360 slug. And that's guys that's hitting 5th and 6th in the order on a day-to-day basis. So I want Farmer to start hitting. And I know it's 20 games, and I know that he's a great clubhouse guy. But if Barrero comes in these 2 or 3 games and he's really playing well in it, whether that's in St. Louis or in Pittsburgh, I feel like something needs to be done about, you got to find a way to get that bat in the lineup. You got to find a way. If he sparks the lineup and that's something that gets the guys going, then that's really something that we need to address. I just think that they've really handled the situation poorly. As Clay was talking about, like, pinch hitting is so hard, especially when you're trying to adjust to big league pitching. I've never had to hit big league pitching. I pinch hit in Division III for 3 years, and that's really hard. It's difficult to sit in the cold or sit on the bench. And yeah, you can go take swings in the cage. You can go loosen up. You can go run around in the clubhouse, whatever it may be, but nothing simulates seeing a 92-mile-an-hour fastball the first pitch that you've seen in 10 days or 5 days, whatever it may be. So he was put in a really tough situation. I think he's been judged very poorly by some Reds fans, and that's all I need to say.
Yeah, no, that's great. We really appreciate you guys' perspective, because me and Carlos have the same perspective. So, what's the point of having the same perspective on the show? We embrace debate here at Late Night Reds Talk Live. But no, and I'm super excited for Jose's future with the Reds. And yeah, so no, definitely appreciate your guys' perspective. All right, let's move on to some questions.
Whoa.
We said we were gonna just let them. We beat our point to the
They
ground.
did. They talked.
We beat our point to the ground. All right, go ahead.
They talked.
Throw it out there.
First of all,
I'm not talking tonight.
I think if Barrero gets the opportunity to play, say, for 2 or 3 games, and he does really well, they're going to give it back to Kyle Farmer for like 2 days. If he doesn't do shit, they're going back to Barrero because it's crunch time. But that's only if he does really, really well. And the odds of that happening probably are not that great because he hasn't played. And then back to Barrero being called up and then not getting the opportunity. I was totally fine with it. I defended it. Bell's decision, I think he handled it perfectly. I would have handled it the same way, and I think probably 95% of Major League Baseball players would have handled it, and managers the exact same way. But I think he got plenty of ABs in AAA. We know he can do. Like 2/3 of the season is enough. If he can hit and he hit for that well for that long, okay, he's a big leaguer. So with the whole situation that's going on with Farmer, being so like, average, below average, super great month, and like you really couldn't take him out of that lineup. That would have pissed a lot of people off. I'm perfectly fine with bringing up Barrero and having him pinch hit because he gives me the best option of a right-handed hitter whenever I'm trying to make the playoffs. 100%. He's going to get enough bats, more than likely going to go to the Arizona Fall League, more than likely going to play winter ball. He's going to get his ABs. So not worried about his ABs. I don't think anybody's worried about him, progressing to the major league level next year. It was a tough situation. Like, Bryce said, if Kyle Farmer didn't have that month that he had, then we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. But I'm not going to say unfortunately he did, but it is, it happened the way it happened. And I think that the Reds have handled it great.
Fortunately, he did, because if he didn't have that month, we may not even be a game back,
Yeah.
No, regardless of what it's done now. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know, and I don't understand. I have no idea what sitting on a bench would do for a prospect. I don't dude who watches baseball. I have no idea what that does So I'm going to defer to Carlos on that
Yeah,
one.
if he did that for 3/4 of the season, then yeah, that would suck. That'd put him back. If he did it for half of the season, that would suck. But for the last quarter of the season, or third of the season, whatever it's been, I don't think he's got anything to prove at AAA anymore, ever again. So
I don't even think it was really, in my opinion, it's not hurting his development being there. I think it's more just putting him in a bad situation to where you're not really setting him up to fail, but like I said, it's really difficult to hit major league pitching and then to do it on an inconsistent basis. I feel like he was put in a pretty tough situation.
And with you saying that, I think that they have a great clubhouse to where like Joey and Nick and Moose are like, hey, we were all rookies and we had to do our pinch hitting jobs. Like, just be ready every day. Like, I don't know the guy. You guys probably have heard him speak or give interviews more than I have, but he seems like a great guy and that he would be like upbeat about being in the big leagues and getting the opportunity. So I don't know, just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, like I said, I have no idea if it's not going to hurt his development. I want him on the roster because he's certainly better than, other options. And Farmer does need days off. And you do not want anyone else on this current roster playing shortstop. Doesn't matter. They're going to be a disaster defensively. And in these type games, man, that could really, really kill you. So, all right, good conversation on that. Before we get into the questions, this has really gone on. I feel like this is good conversation. I never know when I put out these outlines, like, are we going to blow through this or not? But I feel like pretty good conversation. Hopefully those of you watching are enjoying it as well. But Clay and Bryce, and I kind of got a question, a similar question from the great, what's his name, Clay, the great?
Bambino?
No, the one who asked us the question about player under the radar, Great Haver.
Oh gosh, you put me on the
Great
spot.
take, Haver.
Great Haver. So anyways, Clay and Bryce, we'll let Bryce start on this one since Clay started on the last one. Who's a player kind of under the radar that you guys see that could help the Reds in the near future? Maybe like someone in 2022 that maybe, we're not seeing, we're not hearing a lot about that could be really help the Reds out soon.
I think in my opinion for 2022, the kind of 2A, 3A type prospect in regards to Green and Lodolo is Graham Ashcraft. He's somebody in Chattanooga that had the really long scoreless streak between high A and double A. And he kind of got hit around a little bit in double A, which is to be expected. But Brandon tweeted a stat earlier. Let me get it pulled up 1 second. He's one of 10 pitchers in minor league baseball, age 23 or younger with 50 plus innings that has a FIP under 3. I mean, it's guys like Lodolo, Cade Cavalli from Washington, Shane Boz from Tampa, Grayson Rodriguez from Baltimore. So big time prospects, and Ashcraft's on that list. So I think he'll probably start the 2022 minor league season in AAA. And I mean, if he's having 8 to 10 really good starts, he's pushing the envelope to be there, along with Lodolo and Green, obviously. So you're really going to have 3 guys that are probably on innings restrictions limits between those 3. And I think that he could provide a solid arm, maybe middle of the season, dog days of August, and he could really be somebody that makes an impact. And also Clay tweeted somebody tonight, Riviere San Martin. He was kind of a throw-in a Sonny Gray deal. He's a left-handed guy that pitched out of the pen, started some this year. He pitched really well tonight, 6 innings of scoreless baseball, I believe. And he's like 95 to 97 from the left side with a pretty good breaker. So he's somebody that could possibly make the switch to the bullpen early next year in the spring training, and could provide that left-handed spark that you're looking for if Garrett can't figure it out.
Do you think Ashcraft could, if the Reds had a need or whatever, do you think he could his stuff would translate to a decent, reliever, maybe for short term, maybe for long term?
Possibly. He's more of a 3-pitch guy. His sliders is that gets a 60 grade on Fangraphs according to most scouts, but his fastball is 95, 97 as well, and he features a curveball and a slider, which is kind of odd for a starter. So he'll probably eliminate one of those, I would say, moving up a level, and then kind of rely more on a change.
They have to protect him.
Yeah, I think he's only 23, so I'm not exactly sure on that. He's a college guy, just moved really quickly through the system. I think I really like him a lot.
Clay, who you got? Who's your guy?
So that's a great pick. And those other prospects that Bryce mentioned, you all may not know. Those are truly elite first round talents. I mean, Grayson Rodriguez for the Orioles is the #1 pitching prospect in all of baseball. Kate Cavalli's incredible. One of the fastest movers through all of the prospect rankings. So like that is really good company to be with. San Martin's a guy who Bryce touched on that I think is important. And I wanted to focus on a couple of guys here, but really more or less a situation. Left-handed pitchers out of the bullpen has been a struggle. Sean Doolittle, Josh Osage, Justin Wilson, Amir Garrett. I mean, the list goes on of kind of people that have struggled. And because we're talking about 2022 only, two names, San Martin, I think he's right now a starter. He has an interesting slot angle on his delivery. I think that could translate well to the bullpen with his stuff as well. And if he's somebody who can bring in a lefty into the bullpen, that's really promising considering how the Reds have struggled there. Another guy, and you all may hate me for this, but CNL Perez, I'm serious. He has pitched so well in AAA, and he truly has nasty stuff. His issue is walks, and he's only 24 years old. Everyone forgets this. He also was a top 5 or 6 prospect in the Astros system. This guy has the stuff to do it, and he's really dominating down in AAA right now. And now he may pan out to be one of those 4A type pitchers, but I truly think if he can locate his stuff, I would not be surprised. We talked about how fickle relief pitching can be. I know everyone's probably thinking, shut the hell up. What are you talking about? He sucks. We've all seen him. But I'm just telling you, watch him pitch. He has some really nasty movement. And if he can just refine it just a little bit, he could be extremely effective in terms of 2022. One other name I'll throw out there who's he's not, jumping off the box scores or anything, but TJ Friedel is the guy who I would automatically replace Shogo with. He has to be protected for the Rule 5. He can play all outfield positions, plus athlete in all of those positions. He would have gone he was an undrafted free agent, and the reason why is because nobody knew he was draft eligible. He would have gone in the top 4 rounds, but no one understood. He had a weird red shirt rule, and that's why he wasn't drafted. It wasn't until after the draft, and he got paid, I think, the highest signing bonus of an undrafted free agent. And he's shown some pop this year with Louisville. I think he's maybe second in home runs down there. He can get on base. And like I said, he's a lefty bench bat who could automatically today replace Shogo. And he has to be put on the 40-man roster. So that's somebody who could at least provide a little bit of depth off the bench.
Yeah, have to do some research on that. Like, I'm interested. How did everybody miss that?
It's a crazy story.
If you have any links that you can forward to me,
yes, I will.
I think this is like the most shared story in baseball when it happened.
It must have been why I didn't get drafted.
One point on Perez, Clay. I don't think you're crazy on him.
Thank you. 24 years old. He's young.
I did not want to see him again this year. Let me be very, very clear. I did not want to see him anytime this year. Just let's call it a year, pack it up, have a good offseason, come back. But StatCast loves the guy. I mean, for a guy with a near 7 ERA, StatCast said his expected was below 5.
Yeah.
Watch him pitch and just watch the movement that he has. If he can just get 10% better at locating it, which I know sounds like a lot, but I mean, the Reds have been able to do some stuff with some pitchers. They have no shortage of, really good pitching coaches. Perez is not someone who should be, just written off.
No, me and a certain buddy that I have talked about him in spring training, and we were like, I saw him pitch 3 times. Like, this is hands down the best stuff that any left-hander has in the organization. Like from the big league to possibly making the big league roster. I was like, he's way above what Amir Garrett was as a lefty, because his ball moves all over the place and he has more than 2 pitches. So I don't know. I'm very excited about him too.
kind of be scary to step in the box against, to be honest. Like I would not want to. I mean, I wouldn't want to step in the box against anyone, but I'd probably crap my pants, against Jeff Hoffman. But
I feel like we'd be a fair matchup now, Nick.
but yeah, I mean, Perez, he's not a guy, especially lefty, you'd be feeling comfortable against. So whatever that's worth. All right, let's knock out some of these questions, fellas. Ethan Fulkerson, I think, asked a really good question. He said, I know this is a loaded question, but I'm just curious. What does everyone think the Reds should prioritize going into the offseason and next year? And I know we've kind of talked about, some of the contracts and whatnot, but just in terms of what should be the number one priority. Carlos, let's start with you.
I'm choosing between adding bullpen arms or Nick, and I'm probably going to go Nick. Signing Nick.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a right-handed bat, especially if it's either Castellanos or replacing Castellanos or Castellanos and replacing someone else.
If there's somebody slightly better than Castellanos, I don't want him. I want Castellanos. Like, he's been so great for the city, and the fans love him. Like, I love watching him play. Like, if they can do it, it sucks that Scott Boras is his agent, but if they can pull it off, I'd say that.
Yeah. And we got another question about Castellanos, so let's not get too far into him. But Clay, who do you think?
Yeah,
Where do you think?
I will not be, because Carlos said Nick. I'll move on and say finding a center fielder. I think that is a huge hole, and it's been kind of masked in the past with Nick Senzel. I've never been high on Nick Senzel. I'm just not a big Nick Senzel guy, and he can't even get on the field. So I actually think it's a great offseason to trade him. Even if it is for less than what his value might be. If you can get another player like him back in a trade, a prospect that just needs a change of scenery, I think finding a center fielder would do wonders for this, especially if they're a good fielder. If the DH comes or not, who knows if Joey will take that DH spot. I wouldn't do that. I would put, Winker in a DH, but having a plus center fielder for this team that can get on base and provide some pop and shore up the middle of the lineup so that we don't have to have the Kyle Farmers batting fifth or anything like that. In terms of free agent market, I don't have a bunch of names on the top of my head. I mean, Byron Buxton's an interesting one, but he's also someone who can't get on the field, but he's not going to re-sign in Minnesota from what it sounds like. And you're talking about a top 5 center fielder when healthy. The issue is, do you want to deal with that type of injury proneness? And the reality is you're going to get him cheaper than most players because of his injury history. He might be a deal in that $16 million range. But that's more of an off-season topic. So addressing the center field situation is the number one for me.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Clay. Obviously, if you get Castellanos re-signed, you could look for a center fielder. Maybe someone like Buxton in a trade would really feel better because you feel like maybe you can risk a little bit more if you have Castellanos locked up. Starling Marte is a guy who's a little older.
I love him.
A little older than I would like, but he's still a really good defensive center fielder.
He's aging so well. He is stealing base after base since he went to Oakland. They just let him run. He may be 33 years old, but I don't care. I mean, a 3-year deal for him, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I love Marte. You don't have to sell me on that. But yeah, I mean, say Castellanos did, it just doesn't happen. You could look at spending that money on Marte. Maybe a Naquin Aquino platoon in right field. Naquin, I think, is a much more valuable player in right field than in center field. And then, you still have, guys like the Senzels of the world, who are I don't necessarily think you have to trade Senzel. I like just having him be hey, we're not going to count on him, but hey, man, he can let him be Jonathan India in 2022 and force the issue and make the Reds have to figure it out. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? So yeah, I love the idea of center field, and but yeah, I mean the Reds need a right-handed bat. Man, George Springer last year, that would have been. I mean, I know he has had issues staying healthy, but man, he would
3 times on the injury list already. He's missed like 70 games, but he is so good when he's in the lineup.
That bat would translate well. Bryce, what do you think?
Yeah, to kind of go along with both of their points there. Obviously, I think signing Nick is first and foremost. I know we've spoke on his deal, and we'll get to that later. But my next thing is maybe out of question, out of context, but Ketel Marte, the Diamondbacks are going to be horrible again. And if whatever you can offer to them, the guy's unreal. He's a great center fielder. Hits are above average. Hits for power. Guess what his weighted runs created plus this year is against left-handed pitching?
7,000.
220.
Oh,
he's a switch hitter. He can play around the field. He's fast. He's durable. He would be unbelievable in Cincinnati.
The best thing about him too is he's only $8 million next year, and then club options for 2023 for $10 million. Club option 2024, $12 million, age 30 season, unrestricted free agent 2025.
I would give up Green or Lodolo for him.
That was exactly what I was like. You'd have to give up one of them. I know me and Clay love, or maybe just me and Clay tolerates me, but I love to play with the trade generator, and I can't even like come up with anything for him. He's like one of the highest like values.
It's that contract, and he's versatile. You can play him at other positions. He can play second base,
shortstop. He can play shortstop.
It's unbelievable what he can do. Yeah, he's getting wasted right now in Arizona.
I'd give up Hunter Green for him tomorrow. That's crazy to say.
I would too.
Not that crazy.
I hope Hunter's not listening. We love you, Hunter.
Hey, one little thing I want to drop in there, and right below center field for me is shredding a bad contract. If they can somehow get out of a bad contract and trade off, I know it won't happen, but without trading some huge name prospect, trading off a bad contract would be huge.
I don't think Joey was what he was talking about.
No, I'm not talking about Joey Votto.
I don't even think Joey's a bad contract.
I'm trolling our Twitter folk.
No, I'm a Votto guy. I like Votto.
Votto stand here. Yeah, I mean, maybe they could throw in a prospect and trade one of the contracts, kind of eat it, and then, be able to, reallocate the money. That would be nice. All right. Do you guys have anything else that you want to touch on? I think I got to all the questions. I'm sorry, YouTube. There was just a lot of good sharing of frustration. So I'm sorry if I missed some questions in there.
That's a good way to put it, I bet.
But no,
sharing the frustrations going on here, guys.
Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Any other things you guys want to address before we wrap this up?
The only other thing I would say would be, as I'm thinking of off season, is a sneaky need is starting pitching. I mean, if Miley leaves, if they don't pick up his club option, Sonny Gray's been injured. He's on the last year of his deal. I mean, you realistically could be relying on a lot of rookies and a Gutierrez, and there's not much depth after that. I could see them bringing in some type of a vet, at least to battle for a role in the rotation.
If they don't pick up Miley right away, I'm not even paying attention the rest of the fucking offseason.
Morton just
they're not going to spend money.
Morton just signed for $20 million for 1 year next year. There's no way the Reds would get torn to shreds.
But it's the Reds. We can't act like we'd be shocked.
Picking up Miley's option. They're going to pick it
up. Like throwing Brad Bach out there tonight in the fucking extra inning game.
Bradley Broccoli is pitching in September in meaningful games. Lord have mercy.
Bryce, you got anything else?
The Reds.
Clay and Bryce, check Clay out on justbaseball.com. Does some great stuff there. Bryce, a great follow out on Twitter. I know our account tweeted both their guys out, so look up our account. You'll find both those guys. Guys, really enjoyed having you on. really, I think helped me at least digest that brutal loss tonight. I thought this was a good conversation. We'll definitely have you guys back on. Lastly, I got to get my last word in. Believe in this team. It's not over. It's not over. There's 21 games left, 1 game out of a playoff spot. Be mad all you want, but man, don't regret in 3 years when the Reds are rebuilding that you're like, yeah, you know what, I poo-pooed and they had a nice run to the finish. So this team, they got some gas left. They're gonna make a run. It's gonna happen. Believe it. As always, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever. Give us a 5-star review. We love it. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're going to look to have some big guests up here to wrap up the season. So thanks as always for watching, and go Reds.
See you.